Am I live? Am I going? Yeah, it isn't going. So I'll choose to believe what YouTube tells me. Tried going live a few minutes ago with another stream, but for some reason the stream wasn't starting. It was kind of frustrating, and I was like, ooh, is YouTube not going to cooperate today? Am I not going to be able to stream? But here I am, hopefully. Currently 0 people watching, so who knows if I even am really live. But again, I'll choose to believe what YouTube is telling me. It says I've been live for 43, 44, 45 seconds. So yeah, I see there's 2 people now. So if you want to identify yourselves and engage in the chat, that would be much appreciated. But for now, I guess I'll start off by talking about the weather, which has been fucking miserable. Hence the title of this stream, Sizzling. Ooh, because it has been scorching hot these past few days in the mid 90s. Well, right now, at least what my MacBook is telling me here at the top, it's 93 degrees. And I fucking hate it. Well, I've been inside, so I can't complain that much in an air conditioned house. So, but thank you, modern technology. Um, but no, it's. I did go outside for a little bit yesterday, not like to actually do anything or to go out. I just had to take out garbage, and for those like 5 minutes I was outside, oof, it was. I wouldn't say brutal because again I was only outside for maybe like 5 minutes max, but it was still something. Yeah. But if anyone watching this lives in, I don't know, a state like Arizona or any part of the world really that's much much hotter than 95 degrees, which it was yesterday at the highest, I'm sure they'd be laughing and be like, 95 degrees. That's considered cool where I'm at. Good for you. Good for you. That's all I'll say. Like, okay, cool. It's hot for me because I don't live in your wherever the fuck you are. I'm getting nothing but rain next week. I've been getting a lot of rain too. Just last night, my basement, well, it didn't flood. Well, I mean, some water came in that I had to pick up. That's been really fucking annoying. But yeah, it rained for like 20 minutes last night around 11 o'clock. There was a heavy downpour. It's really just a passing cloud, thankfully. But yeah, that was really fucking bad. It's frustrating now. Even when it rains normally, there's the threat of my basement getting flooded. It's terrible. Used to not be like that. Only up until a few years ago, it wasn't like that. I think the drain in the backyard, that's right in front of the door leading into our basement. I think it's clogged and it needs to be cleaned out. But that's a process that costs quite a bit of money that we don't have right now. So we just have pumps that puts water into the drain that doesn't fucking work. So we still have to go downstairs and clean up water a lot of the times when it rains heavily, which is fun, like it was last night. Yeah, there's quite a few messages now. I was talking for like 3 minutes or whatever, and there was no one talking. Cool. Uh, Hello, I'm Alice / Teacher of the Heart. I just changed my username. Hello, Alice, Teacher, Abby, whatever you wish to be called. How you doing? Hello, Jerry. How are you doing? W. Mikey. Thanks. Climate change is real. It used to be a massive joke that it's always raining in the UK, and now we get water droughts. I heard the UK has been getting a lot of heat. Like, it's been unusually hot over there. I don't really know much about weather in the UK, like how it is normally. aside from the stereotype, it's always cloudy. uh, but yeah, I've just heard that the UK it's been really hot over there, like more than usual at this time of the year. And yeah, it is climate change. Like over here, like it's getting to the point where it's just, I mean, it's always been undeniable, but now we have so many like anecdotal experiences of people, experiencing weather events that they didn't experience previously, or at least what was considered abnormal at one point that is now happening on a regular occurrence. Like it's getting harder and harder to deny because now people again are like, experiencing all these weather phenomenons they used to not experience, at least regularly, on a consistent basis now. Like us. I mean, no one I live with is a climate change denier, thankfully. But for us, like I just said, the biggest change is our basement flooding. That used to only happen during like really bad hurricanes that would come maybe like once every few years. Like the first time I had to help clean the basement out was when Hurricane Ida hit here a few years ago. That was what, 2020, 2021, somewhere around there. I know it was a few years ago at this point, but I thought that was a one and done thing. Hurricane Ida that hit really fucking hard here in NYC. Apparently, we got the remnants of it, but it was still really fucking bad. Like literally, the in front of the door, the back door that leads to the basement, it was like a fucking river. Like I had to go down there. We tried to. It was a pretty hopeless attempt at cleaning the water out, but me and my uncle went down to where the water was, and it was like up to my fucking waist, and we got buckets trying to clean it out to no avail, obviously. Um, but I thought that was something I would never have to do, or maybe not never again, but maybe like once every few years, something I would have to do. No, now it's on like almost a weekly basis. I have to go down and clean up water from my basement. Little things like that people experience thanks to climate change. It's now affecting more and more people's day-to-day life. How can you fucking deny it at this point? Discord notification that I'll ignore for now until the stream is over. Maybe I should have put myself in do not disturb, whatever. Uh yeah. What's up? Nothing much. What's up with you, Robert? Anything interesting going on in your life? Because nothing interesting ever goes on in mine. you know, Same shit every day. Play video games, work a little bit, do these videos or stream. Something I have been, well, not really paying attention to, but kind of sort of paying attention to. The Knicks in the finals, the NBA finals. Normally, I don't give a single shit about sports or the NBA or whatever, and that's still pretty much the case. But after the Knicks game the other night, my phone was fucking blowing up with Instagram DMs. I'm in a couple of DM groups with my real life friends on Instagram, and that is all they want to fucking talk about: the Knicks, the Knicks, the Knicks. But the other night when the Knicks pulled off that miracle comeback, my phone was blowing the fuck up. My friends talking about it. That is all they talked about all day yesterday as well, and I had nothing to contribute. But I did cave and watch the highlights of that game, and yeah, that was pretty spectacular what the Knicks pulled off in that game. What was it, like a 30-point difference between them and the Spurs at one point? and then in the second quarter, I don't know what the fuck happened in halftime, but they majorly turned the game around. That was entertaining to watch, at least the highlights of. Again, I didn't watch the game when it happened. Maybe I should have. It's my city. The Knicks are from. Could have witnessed history as it happened because apparently that's like the biggest comeback in NBA history, or the final history of the finals at least. I don't know about the NBA in general, but oh well. At least now I kind of sort of know a little bit of what my friends talk about because so many of them, like I've said before, are sports heads, and I'm not. That's always been like a source of awkwardness for me because a lot of the times when I'm hanging out with them or talking to them in DMs, a lot of them are talking amongst themselves about sports, the latest basketball game, baseball game, football game, what have you. A lot of them even like soccer or football for any European who might be watching this, or anyone really outside of the States who might be watching this, since it's only us filthy American swine who call football soccer, because we have our own football, American football. But yeah, it's always like really awkward when my friends are all talking about sports and I have nothing to add to the conversation because I don't pay attention to sports at all. Save for again the Knicks game from the other night. That was cool. But I have nothing really more to say beyond that. Maybe I should get into sports more, just for the sake of like being able to talk to my friends about it. But I'm not gonna force myself to be interested in something I'm not interested in, just for the sake of appeasing other people. So yeah, not gonna do that. I'm not really a fan of summer, to say the least. I'm not a fan either. I've never liked summer. Never really liked winter that much either. Don't like either extreme. I don't like the blistering heat, and I don't like the extreme cold. Which, ooh, we definitely got extreme cold this past winter for like a week straight, week and a half here in NYC. It was like fucking -10 degrees. Maybe not that low. I don't know. I think actually it went down to like -4, -5, maybe a little lower than that at its worst. But the real feel, I remember looking at my phone, was like -20, -30 degrees on some nights during the winter. And it especially sucked too because that came right after a really bad blizzard. It was the biggest blizzard in, I think, 10 years at least, the city got. So none of that snow melted for a while. It turned into ice, which, yeah, fucking great. It wasn't that bad though. Obviously, it's long melted away now, but it took a long time to go away. That snow, I think it stuck around until early March at least. But I still take that extreme cold over the heat. I am much, 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 much more sensitive to the heat, or should I say, much less tolerant uh, when it comes to the heat. I've said it before, like when it comes to it being really cold, you can bundle up, wear a sweater, jacket, a bunch of other clothing, and plus also, your body does naturally generate heat, so we do have natural mechanisms when it comes to fighting against the not the heat, the cold. But the heat, it's just straight misery. Like when it's really hot outside and we don't have the AC on, I can't fucking sleep. It's just too unbearable for me. And again, I know there are places in the world much hotter than NYC is right now. Right now, it's 93 degrees. People spit on that and it's like 93 degrees. That's nothing where I'm at. Again, good for you. I don't give a shit. You're so you're so hard and resilient. Congratulations. Don't give a fuck. The last summer of May. I don't know what that's supposed to mean. Last summer, May of last year, I guess. Even though May isn't summer, at least where I'm at. Was just taking the piss with how hot it was. Now June has been unbelievably cold. Unbelievably cold. Well, I remember last year for like half of June, it felt more like October. It was breezy. The weather is in like the low 50s, I think, on a lot of days. It did not feel like June at all. It did not feel like summer was upon us at all. But I wasn't complaining. Wasn't complaining one fucking bit. I was wearing a hoodie for most of June last year and I loved it. I had some friends that were complaining about that though. When's the summer weather gonna arrive? I want to go to the beach. I want to do this. I want to do that. That people typically do in the summertime because it's hot. Because it's hot out. And I'm like, I do not want that weather to come. I'd be fine with all of summer feeling like this. Personally, I don't give a fuck that you want to go to the beach. I hate the heat. I don't even like the beach that much anyway. Oh, the sand is. Week of May, not summer. Oh, that's what you meant. I was hanging out at my local park watching a baseball game yesterday evening and it was quite hot. Yeah, last night, I don't remember what it was last night. I think it was in the 70s, but at least where I'm at, the humidity was pretty bad. And again, it rained really hard, but that was almost at midnight. That's cool. Sounds fun. My local park doesn't have any. There is a hockey ring and at my park, and I think some games happen there. There's bleachers even in front of it. So I'm sure there are games that happen there, but I've never seen any. At least I don't go to that park during hours when a game would be. There's also a little baseball field in that park that I never see used. It's weird. Like there a lot of the times when I go to that park, there's girls there playing softball, but they're just playing on like the empty field, not utilizing the field for baseball, softball, whatever. And it looked like they were part of a team too, not like just playing it, just for the fun of it. Whatever. I really like going to that park right by my house. Literally, it's right in front of my circle. Not the entrance. I have to go further down to actually enter the park, but in general, it's a park that's right in front of the right in front of the neighborhood of houses that are here. And for a long time, I just haven't taken advantage of that. And my neighborhood has its own little private park right behind the houses that are in front of me. That up until recently I hardly ever went to. There's a flagpole there and some benches, even though there hasn't been a flag on top of that pole in many years. It's just kind of awkward going there though, that private park, because it's like right in front of, there's also people's backyards there, and I don't want to make it seem like I'm like intruding on anyone's privacy, but no one ever says anything. But again, it's so fucking cool that my neighborhood has that, and I just up until recently I haven't been taking advantage of that. I've been going outside a lot more, contrary to what certain people say and accuse me of. And I haven't gone outside these past few days though, with how fucking hot it's been, but on most days I go out, like just for myself, not like running errands or anything. And again, like I've said before, it's been, obviously it doesn't fix everything. I still have depression and anxiety, but it does help a bit with my mental health. So go outside more. Even if that means leaving the stream, go outside. Prioritize your mental health. Actually, don't leave this stream. I like the engagement. Did you hear that Elon Musk is now officially a trillionaire? Yes, I've heard. It just broke today, didn't it? Yeah, all the people, who are stuck without jobs and on the brink of poverty or actually in poverty. People who have had their jobs automated away. Now they're just out on their ass. Can't make money. They can't find a job, another job. Or there's people out there who work more than one job and they're still not making ends meet. Meanwhile, this fucking piece of shit just have pretty much all the fucking money in the world and give none of it back. Such a fair society we live in. Fucking hate it here. Some people I know went down the shore for the weekend. I wish I could too. Why? What's stopping you? Busy? Again, going to places like beaches are not my thing at all. Like I've gone to the beach a couple of times with friends back in high school. Like I haven't gone recently. I mean, it was fun just to like hang out and socialize a bit. But it's overall it's something I really don't care for. Not a place I'd go to. Me and my autism, it doesn't gel well with sand. And plus, I've even with sunscreen, my skin is really sensitive to the sun. So being out in the sun for an extended period of time, not very good. Not very good at all. Like a couple of times, I got sunburnt, or not a couple of times. I think once or twice. Hot as hell here. Meanwhile, it's still snowing a bit in Wyoming and Montana. Snowing? Well, I mean, Wyoming and Montana. I don't know what the weather is like typically in those states. I don't know if it's abnormal for it to still be snowing over there. Probably. What do you think of General Motors? I don't think much of General Motors or any car company of the sort. General Motors is replacing Apple CarPlay and Android with their own subscription service. Oh, fuck that shit. Everything needs a fucking subscription service. I hate it. Hate it so fucking much. Squeeze every penny out of your consumers as much as possible, or your user base, what have you. Or in this case, people who drive your cars. Especially in this fucked economy where, again, people are struggling to find employment, people are struggling to make money in general. Even their paychecks at this point can't cover the cost of living. And yet, every single fucking thing known to man needs a fucking monthly fee or whatever plan you choose. Consistently sucking money out of you. But I mean, I can't complain too much. I mean, I'm kind of a sucker. Like, I pay for YouTube Premium. I do like actually benefit from the perks. Like, again, like I've mentioned before, I do use YouTube to sleep. I sleep to a 10-hour loop of a sound of a fan, and because of YouTube Premium, I can lock my phone, and YouTube would still be playing in the background. Which, yeah, you do need to pay for a feature that fucking basic. That's how they get you. They fucking uh, lock all these basic ass features behind a paywall. Even just leaving the YouTube app and going to another app, you need to pay for YouTube Premium for YouTube to still be playing while you're doing that in the background. It's fucking bullshit, but I'm paying for it, so I'm contributing to the problem. My household has quite a few streaming services, a lot of the big ones. I mean, we recently got rid of Disney and Paramount Plus. They used to come bundled with our Spectrum subscription. But it's not bundled anymore, and my uncle out of nowhere, he got a fee for Disney Plus and Paramount, and he was like, "I wasn't paying for this before. What the fuck happened? Oh, it's not part of our bundle anymore, or whatever." And they just never told him. Guess they're expecting them to not find out. And just keep paying unknowingly. But we do have most of the major ones. We have HBO, my favorite subscription. Oh well, kind of. My favorite streaming service: Netflix, Hulu. It's really just HBO. I watch the most, and Netflix. Well, I'm watching Netflix right now. I'm watching Better Call Saul. I don't really give a fuck about the vast majority of the originals Netflix has on its platform because a lot of it is dog shit. Is there any good, like, barring like the big names like Stranger Things or other big name shows? Orange is the New Black, House of Cards before that went to shit. Is there any good Netflix original show or movie? Like, anything I am seriously missing out on? I hear about some that people talk about, but forget the names, and I don't really give that much of a fuck. But just out of curiosity. I hear that the Pope owns 51% of General Motors. I think I heard of that, but I that's kind of funny to think about. I'm not a fan of General Motors. Well, this is the most I've ever thought about General Motors, and it's really fucking bullshit that they're doing that. Nickel and diming their people who drive their cars to use their subscription service just to listen to music in their car or whatever the fuck. And watch a lot of these other car companies, when that inevitably, goes over well, which, by going over well, I mean people are probably going to like cause a stink about it for like a week at most and then just comply and, stop giving a fuck. Other car companies are probably going to do the same thing. Like Netflix with their, with nickel and diming people who share their passwords. They really started cracking down on that. People got pissed off about that for maybe a month at most, then stopped giving a shit. And now other subscription or streaming services are doing the same thing. I think HBO is now doing that. Probably others too. People in general are just way too complacent. They don't get as mad at shit like this as they should. Here's my phone background. Just looking at my phone and showing it off a little bit just a minute ago. OG Resident Evil 4. That's a cool image. Saw it shared, I think Reddit, and I was like, ooh, that'd make a good phone background. Even though it's not really representative of any part of the game, there's no part in either the OG or the remake where Leon, Ashley, and Ada are all together fighting off villagers, but it's still a cool image. My mom has a 2014 Buick Verano that she stopped using after she got a 2024 Toyota RAV4. My mother is rocking a Toyota. I think it's a Corolla. I don't know. I don't know fucking shit about cars. She got it from a family friend who I considered a grandfather who died all the way back in 2012. I think his car is a 2005 model. Still runs perfectly fine. Old as fuck car, but hey, my mom can't afford a new one and she has no complaints with this one, so whatever. Hopefully, it continues to run perfectly fine in the years to come. But I was standing near a group of teenage boys who were being loud and obnoxious and throwing empty bottles at each other. Yeah, I try not to be within the vicinity of teenagers as much as I can. I mean, there are good teenagers out there, but a lot of them are fucking obnoxious and have no respect for anyone around them. Like, the kind of teenagers you just mentioned, throwing fucking bottles at each other that could have, I'm sure, easily hit someone else who was not part of those group of teenagers. I remember a few years ago, I went to a fireworks show at my local park, not the one right by my house, one that's like a 15-minute drive from my house. Um, that park is really nice. It has a little beach, and there's a river going over to the Bronx, which is cool too. Anyway, even though that beach is really fucking dirty, it's horrible how people treat that beach. Anyway, there's a fireworks show that that happens there every 4th of July. In these past few years, I've been going to that, something to do. And hey, one time I went with a whole bunch of friends and we got really fucking high. Well, not at the park because that's illegal. Um, but we got high, right before the show, and we were high for like pretty much all of it, and that was a lot of fun. We hung out for a few hours afterwards. Great night. But anyway, let me finally tell the story that I've been trying to get to. Jesus Christ, I ramble too much. Um, Before the actual fireworks show started, this was like 2 years ago, I think. There were some dumb fuck teenagers trying to light their own fireworks, and then the fucking bottle like shot right into the fucking crowd and went off. Thankfully, no one got hurt. That could have gone bad in so many different ways, but thankfully it didn't. And then those teenagers just ran the fuck off. Like, leave it to a bunch of dumb fuck teenagers to almost ruin a fun night, a fun gathering. 91 in my area, 97 where I'm at. Oof. It's still, well, at least my MacBook says it's still 93 where I am. Again, fucking hate the heat. Can't stand it. Again, I don't like it when it gets really cold either, but I can handle that at least a little better than when it gets really hot outside and humid. The year is 2031 and you need a subscription to go to the toilet. Don't give corporations any ideas. That'll probably be reality sooner or later. Want to know what would really be a travesty? Or at least a travesty to people who use YouTube. If YouTube eventually made it so you had to pay for their subscription service to upload videos, or like upload a video that is longer than a certain length. Yeah, let me not give Google any ideas. They're probably thinking of something like that. There's got to be some point where their servers just can't handle the sheer amount of content that is uploaded on a daily basis. Surprised they haven't tried anything like that, but at this point. It was 98 today for a high. Low is about 76 tonight, and I know someone in Wyoming who said it's still snowing a bit. Well, I don't know anyone who lives in Wyoming, at least I don't think. But yeah, I mean that's something. It's hot as hell here, the Northeast where we're at, and then in another part in the country it's fucking snowing. What was the high today? It's 93 right now. Oh, it is the high, 93. Well, my phone says it's 89 degrees. My laptop is saying it's 93. I'll choose to believe my phone since 89 is just slightly cooler than 93. Still pretty miserable though. Hello, cool dude. How are you doing? Paramount Plus is merging into HBO Max soon. Yeah, I read some article that was shared in, I think, the HBO Max subreddit, which I'm part of. Well, I don't know if, well, it's not definite yet. The merger still has to be approved, which it more than likely will be. Like, I remember the Microsoft Activision merger, or acquisition rather. You know, there were a ton of, like, legal setbacks, and at one point it looked like the merger was going to be blocked because I think the EU blocked it, and then that ended up being overturned. And now Activision is part of Microsoft, one of the biggest video game publishing companies, which owns quite a bit of the biggest video game franchises now, gobbled up by an even bigger company. Yeah, uh, but we definitely still have active antitrust laws in this country, man. So, I've seen people say this is going to be challenged in court. There's a chance that the Activision, no, not Activision, the Paramount and Warner Brothers merger will not go through. I'll believe it when it happens. Right now, I'm just like, yeah, the Ellisons are an extremely wealthy, extremely powerful family with a multitude of different connections, powerful connections all around the world. This is probably going to go through. Like, I don't really have much faith in it not going through. Because antitrust is completely fucking dead in this country. It's all about who has the most money, who has the most connections, who has the most power. If you have a sufficient amount of all of those things, you get to do whatever the fuck you want. No rules apply to you. And that should be more than obvious at this point. Like, prime example, the fucking Epstein files. So many rich and powerful people were implicated in those. Has anything substantial happened yet? No. I mean, Prince Andrew got arrested and then let go, and then nothing else I don't think has happened after that. So that's the closest we got to someone getting some kind of consequence, and nothing came of that. Again, if you're rich and powerful enough, you can do whatever the fuck you want, no matter how depraved it is. I guess the one silver lining to Paramount Plus and HBO Max merging is, well, getting to watch the Paramount content because we're subscribed to HBO Max. I'm not the one paying for it, but we have it, and if it'll be merged into one service, we'll have the Paramount content, and that also includes the Showtime content. There's there's really no Showtime show I give a shit about though, besides Dexter. And I hear a lot of really good things about the new Dexter series, which hopefully won't end on such a dog shit note like the original series and the revival from a few years ago did, but we'll see. But so far, I hear it's really good. I've heard many good things about it, and I haven't been able to watch it because the Paramount plan we did have, the free plan that came with that bundle, did not include the Showtime content, so I couldn't watch it. So that merger does happen, I can watch it, I suppose, if it'll be part of HBO Max. I wonder if they'll keep the HBO Max name or merge HBO Max into Paramount Plus, and then it just becomes all Paramount Plus or an entirely new service. We'll see, I guess. All the good Netflix shows get canceled after one or two seasons. Either that or a good Netflix show starts off good, and then as time goes on, it gets shittier and shittier. It's either one of those two things. Like, I hear about so many Netflix shows, and people either say it gets canceled prematurely or it started off so fucking good. The first season was good, maybe the second season, and then afterwards it gets so fucking terrible. Like, I hear about that a lot too. Is some Netflix shows start off strong and then end with a fucking wet fart. That's why now, unless a Netflix show is over and I actually hear good things about it, I'll check it out, because I'm not gonna invest my time in a show that's ongoing and then it gets canceled. Because what's the fucking point? I'd rather spare myself of that misery, never knowing how a show that I might be invested in ends. Has anyone seen the amazing Digital Circus finale in theaters or is gonna see it on YouTube when it premieres? I have not seen that in theaters, and I have never seen a single episode of that show. Don't know anything about it besides it stars some fucking little clown girl, I think. Named Pam or some shit. Yeah, don't know fucking anything about that. I hear about it a lot. Some people I talk to on, I think, Discord that are into it. I don't know if I know anyone in real life who's into it. And again, I have never seen a single second of that. All I know it for is an online friend who passed away a few years ago, unfortunately. May she rest in peace. Her final video on her channel was a clip of her in a live stream trashing that show. So whenever I hear about that show, that's what I think about. Needless to say, we don't celebrate the 4th of July in the UK. I didn't think so. We only have fireworks on Bonfire Night, November 5th, and then New Year's Day. Scares the piss out of my dog every time. The only day of the year I tolerate fireworks is the 4th of July. I'm like, okay, get it out of your system on this one day of the year, this one night of the year, whatever. And then don't fucking do it again any other day. Maybe New Year's, but, aside from that, I don't want fucking fireworks going off around my neighborhood, which some shitheads do set off fireworks in my neighborhood for some fucking reason. Like, very early hours in the morning or very late at night. I remember that used to really piss off my grandma when she was alive. She already had a hard enough time sleeping. She had cancer. Fortunately, she didn't know she had cancer until it was too late. So she'd spend most of the nights coughing and not getting much sleep. And then she would finally start drifting off to sleep. And then some asshole is lighting fireworks in the park that's right by our house. That hasn't happened as much lately. I don't know if someone finally. I don't know if whoever the fuck was doing that finally got in trouble, which I hope they did. Caused a. I mean, it doesn't really matter for me. I'm up all night. I don't sleep until like fucking 5 or 6 in the morning. But for everyone else in the neighborhood who are normal people and have regular sleeping schedules or, have jobs to go to in the morning, they don't appreciate that, I'm sure. Hearing fireworks for no fucking reason. There's no holiday, nothing to celebrate. Just a random night, they'd start hearing fireworks going off in the neighborhood. It's inconsiderate as fuck. Hated that shit. Also scared my cat Charlie when he was alive. I was kind of sad. He would always go under my bed and because he'd be so scared if we had the windows open while that was happening. There were some times in the store where I was waiting for my order, and there are a group of teens there too. Well, does that group of teens cause any trouble? One time, this teenager almost ran into me, and he said, "Watch out, little gang." And I just looked at him like, "What is wrong with you? Watch out, little gang." The fuck does that mean? Yeah, teenagers again. It's people I'd rather not be around, or at least be around as little as possible. I remember when I was going to college. On certain days, my day would end around the same time. The high school that's right by my college would when their day ended, and my bus stop unfortunately is right across the street from that high school. And on those days, if I didn't catch the bus, if I didn't catch the bus in time before all those kids came out of the school, my bus stop was fucking flooded with rowdy, stupid teenagers acting fucking stupid, making sounds or whatever the fuck, trying their hardest to be funny. And then I'd go on the bus and they'd be fucking flooded with all those same stupid high schoolers. Hated it so much. It doesn't help that I have anxiety, so being like in large groups of people, especially in a tight space, I really don't like that, but I lived with it barely. Remember when it was YouTube broadcast yourself? Now it's just commercialized to fuck. Yeah, I do remember that slogan. It's been like what, over 10 years since they last used it. I guess that's a hint of self-awareness from Google because this website hasn't been broadcast yourself for fucking years. It's you know now it's just like a whole bunch of like corporations uploading videos or sanitized commercialized YouTubers uploading sanitized commercialized content like Mr. Beast. Those are the types of channels that get the most attention these days. I mean, I was little at the time, but I remember when people would just upload videos from their shitty webcams and just upload that to YouTube, and they made a I don't know if they made a living, but they were able to attain a decently sized audience from just doing that. I mean, that's not to say that's completely gone away. Like, I get videos recommended to me a lot from people from really obscure channels, and it's just people talking to like their phone, talking to their, in front of their phones or their webcams. And it reminds me of like old school YouTube. And I like that some of these videos do get like a decent amount of views, not like millions and millions of views or anything like that, but maybe a couple of thousand, 10,000 plus. Usually people just like venting about their lives and shit, and I watch some of that and I relate to it. But the content like that is the heart of YouTube to me. Just the simple concept of expressing yourself, making what you want to make. You know, like what I do with my channel. I like to vent about things. Sometimes I talk about my life. Other times I talk about whatever the fuck comes to my mind. It's my soapbox. And that's the beauty of YouTube to me, is someone like me can have a platform. I mean, obviously not a massive platform. I'm talking to 5 people. So, it's not like I'm like, super duper famous or anything, but just having a platform in general is just really special to me. I never thought when I was a kid I'd ever have a channel with over 7,000 subscribers, now almost 8,000, even though it'll probably be like another year or two before I hit 8,000 at the rate my channel's growing these days. Whatever. Don't really care that much. But, it's still something that never fails to bend my mind that I have a platform with that amount of people who are subscribed to it. Now, of course, not all 7,007 or 800, however many subscribers I have now, watch my videos, and that's fine. I don't care. But the fact that at least a few hundred or 150 of those people subscribe to me, come back every time I upload a video, it's really special to me. And that's why I've been doing YouTube. Well, not the only reason. Again, it's this is my main outlet, my main way of expressing myself, this channel. But if I never gained an audience in general, or at all, I mean, if I if I never pulled in any amount of views, or rather if I never got any sort of audience, I would have stopped doing YouTube a long time ago. So that's one of the main reasons why I still do YouTube all these years later. Now 12 years later. 12-year anniversary passed recently, May 31st. 2014 was when my first video was uploaded. I just realized, wait, my first video was a Mario Kart 8 clip, so that's technically not my video, more a clip from a game. But when was the first actual video on my channel uploaded? Ah, June 8th, 2014. So the 12-year anniversary of my first real video on this channel. Me vs. Admins, being stupid once again. June 8th, 2014. 1,600 people viewed this video. What the fuck? So happy 12th birthday to the first real video on my channel. Next year, my oldest videos on my channel will be considered teenagers. That's crazy to me. I was 13 when I started uploading on this channel. But, you know, going back to my main point, you know, that's what YouTube means to me, an outlet to express myself, you know, and a platform for regular people like me to have a platform to express ourselves. Not this fucking, you know, bombastic, I'm going to challenge 100 people to do this wacky bullshit like what channels like Mr. Beast do. That's just, you know, fodder for the fucking algorithm. Ghislaine Maxwell was the top moderator on r/World News. Yeah, I heard about that. It's insane how much of a grip Epstein and Maxwell had on the internet. I mean, Epstein, he very likely was at least a key architect in this like right-wing hellscape the internet has been in for the past like decade plus. He was having meetings with the dude that founded 4chan like right before the politics board on that website went online, which is where, you know, a lot of the alt-right shit and Gamergate and all that originated, which gave way to this current political climate, this current political hellscape climate we're in. And Maxwell, didn't she have like an insane amount of Reddit karma? She was like a super Redditor. I'm proud to admit that I barely have any Reddit karma. Yeah. And believe it or not, I'm not a Redditor. Well, I mean, I read Reddit, but I hardly post on it. Sometimes I comment under other people's posts, but that's pretty rare. I just like reading what other people post. I don't know if that counts as being a Redditor, but not like swimming in karma, and I don't moderate any subreddits. I have no desire to. What a fair society we live in. I don't know what exactly that comment is responding to, because I've talked about plenty of instances in this stream of how unfair of a society we live in. But yeah, we don't live in a fair society at all. So I agree with the sarcasm, which I'm sure your comment was. What are your thoughts on the whole McJuggernuggets abortion scandal thing? I don't know if you've heard. It's literally one of my latest videos. Like, it's my second most recent video, dude. Just go on my channel, look at the video section. It's right there. I already made a video about that. I guess to talk about that video for a minute, I mean, I know it's really popping off. Has like what? Last I checked, 2,000 views, 2,200 views, something like that. Let me check. Yeah, I'm not super up to date with my YouTube metrics. I'm such a fake YouTuber. Not all consumed by my numbers. I'm a dying breed in that sense. 3,000 views. Whoa. 8,014 views since it was published. Okay. All right. That video was better received than I thought it would be. I mean, I did peruse the comments last night. Not all of them, but there were some dumb fuck pro-lifers in there. But overall, like I saw, like, before making my video, I saw some other videos from channels around my size talking about this, and their videos have garnered around the same amount of attention mine has, but their videos were rated to fuck by pro-lifers. Like, the entire comment section. Well, either the videos were condemning McJuggernuggets and his wife for aborting their unborn child. But I did see some videos, that echoed pretty much the same sentiment I did in my video. This is overblown to fuck. It's their choice. And those videos got rated to fucking hell by pro-lifers. So I was fully expecting my video for that to end up happening to my video, but it hasn't. I mean, I'm not disappointed. Well, not entirely. That would have been kind of fun. But no, it's cool to see that, there are more people than I thought who, think that this whole thing is just overblown to fucking hell. And, agree that it's, their choice to terminate this pregnancy. And in fact, the right choice if they felt like they didn't have the means to take care of this potentially, very disabled child. What are the likes to dislikes on that video? I can't see that on the YouTube Studio app. I don't think it doesn't show me that. Oh wow, 61 likes versus 19 dislikes. I was expecting like 40 dislikes, honestly. Wow. Okay. Well, that's neat. More people than I thought ended up agreeing with that video. Nice. I like it when a video of mine pops off. I mean, pop off. It only has 3,000 views. It's not like it's getting like fucking a million views or anything like that. But still, it's attention to me. My videos don't average that amount of views, so it's substantial to me. It's funny. I got one comment last night from someone who evidently did not like my video, and they wrote something like, how can I unengage with this video or something like that? This video was so bad that not even a dislike was enough. Well, the first step to not engaging with a video is not writing a fucking comment under it. So thank you for the engagement, buddy. William Shatner, who played Captain Kirk in Star Trek, was recently mocking the people who are calling Star Trek Starfleet Academy show woke. I don't know what that is. Star Trek has always been woke since like the very beginning, right? I don't watch Star Trek. Never seen a single. Well, my uncle who had a stroke a few years ago, he likes Star Trek, and sometimes we put on episodes for him. He used to like watching the original show as a kid, and he still liked watching it even, as an adult. And now he still likes watching it sometimes. But me personally, I think I watched maybe like an episode or two with him when I was like a teenager. He'd be watching it in the living room. I don't remember a single thing. But never on my own accord have I ever watched a single Star Trek episode or any of the movies or anything else Star Trek related. And I think maybe I have said I watched Star Trek like years ago just to like fit in with the sci-fi crowd. Back when I tried to pretend to like sci-fi, or not even really pretend, but just like to fit in with what other people liked, even though I didn't give a single shit about Star Trek. I remember in elementary school, I did try to give Star Wars a try. Like, a lot of my friends back then who I haven't spoken to in 10 plus years, a lot of them, because they ended up not going to the same middle school as me. A lot of them are so fucking big into Star Wars. Like, that was one of the things they talked about all the fucking time. Star Wars, Star Wars, Star Wars. Star Wars was pretty big with quite a few of the people I went to high school with, but it was also that and Marvel shit, and never had any interest in sci-fi or superhero stuff or anything like that. I like shows and movies that are more grounded. The whole like superhero or sci-fi or supernatural shit. I'm never really into that. But that one of my friends from elementary school back then lent me his DVDs of the original trilogy, and I did not care for it at all. I don't know. Maybe my perspective would change. Maybe I'd appreciate it more if I tried watching those movies again as an adult. But I just don't give them much of a fuck. Like when we had Disney Plus, when we still had that bundle, that Spectrum bundle. I remember I did not give a single fuck about Disney Plus because really didn't have much to offer besides Star Wars and Marvel shit. Two things I'm not into at all. I did watch one of the prequel movies when I was over at a friend's house back when I was in elementary school. I think his dad had it playing. His dad liked Star Wars. It was the third prequel movie. I don't remember what it was called, but spoiler, I guess. Even though this is something everyone fucking knows, Anakin becomes Darth Vader at the end. So that's how I know it was the last prequel movie. Um, yeah, I didn't care for that either. Yeah, just never gave much of a fuck about sci-fi stuff. Never cared. And that's another thing that causes some awkwardness between me and my friends, or at least awkwardness on my end. No, none of my friends like tease me or anything for not caring about a lot of the shit they care about. But when they're not talking about sports, I remember in high school when they weren't talking about sports. This is back when the Avengers movies were still coming out. The last one, Endgame. That's what it was called. Um, I remember when that movie came out. That is all they fucking talked about for like weeks straight. Oh my god, Endgame! Did you see Endgame? Did you see what Thanos did or what Iron Man did? No, I didn't see that. I don't care. Endgame came out like right before I graduated high school. I remember it came out in spring of 2019. Yeah, that's when I graduated high school, in June of that year. So like the end of senior year was just Endgame, Endgame, Endgame. People are calling the Monster High reboot woke because Frankie uses they them pronouns. They are based on Frankenstein's monster. The joke is that they are literally multiple people, you morons. Well, I don't know anything about Monster High, so I don't have much to add to that. Wasn't that on Nickelodeon, I think? Maybe I'm thinking of something else. because I do remember a show called Monster High that was on, but I had no interest in seeing it. I think it was on when I started to not watch Nickelodeon and Cartoon Network and other cartoon channels. Well, those are the only two cartoon channels I watched. I wasn't a Disney kid. That's another thing I'm kind of like out of step on, I suppose, with a lot of other people who are my age. I have no nostalgia at all surrounding Disney Channel shows because I didn't watch Disney Channel back then. It was just Nickelodeon and Cartoon Network that I stuck with. Why? I don't know. I don't really have any reason for not watching Disney Channel beyond just I just didn't care for Disney Channel, didn't care to watch it. So when people are waxing nostalgia about Phineas and Ferb or Kim Possible or whatever other Disney Channel show that was popular back when I and other people my age were kids, no, I have nothing to say about any of those shows. Low key, the Meverse admins weren't even particularly strict in hindsight. I mean, they were strict and like, I mean, that I think Meverse was restrictive. Like looking back, I don't blame Meverse for being as restrictive as it was. I have an itch. Ugh. Um, because a lot of children were on that site, but didn't stop the predators from preying on children on there. But there are rules from back then that I thought were too strict that I agree with now, like not sharing external social media profiles on Meverse because kids could share like their Twitters or Facebooks or whatever else they may have, less restrictive social media platforms than Meverse, or at least comparatively less strict or restrictive. And then predators could prey on them in those platforms where they have more freedom to talk about other things or be more vulgar and send images too. Ugh. So I agree with stuff like that in hindsight. I mean, most of the reports that I ranted about back then that I would receive from the admins, I do look back on now, and I'm like, yeah, probably for the best that a post like that was taken down, or at least I could see the rationale as to why certain posts of mine were taken down on what was a kid-friendly social media platform. But by the time I was reaching high school, I quit Meverse the summer before I started high school. I mean, my stated reason back then was, that the fucking update that restricted people on how much they could post and comment in one day, which was only a combined total of 30. A very, very, very large number, I know. And the last thing that was keeping me on Meverse at that point, because I had already quit Meverse like several times by that point because I was just so frustrated and fed up with the admins taking shit of mine down and banning me left and right. Even again, now I can understand why at least a little more, but back then it was really frustrating. And I would keep coming back because I had a lot of friends who didn't use YouTube, which back then that was the only other platform I was on besides Meverse. People who were still on Meverse, and there were people, by and large, there were people who I still wanted to keep in contact with. So Meverse was, the, 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 the very last thing that was keeping me on Meverse was talking to friends, and now Meverse is cracking down on even you doing that. So I quit, but I also maybe I did bring this up back then, or maybe I just didn't talk about it enough or that much. But I was entering high school at that point. I was on the cusp of entering high school. I felt like I had no business being on a platform that was mostly like, comprised of 12s or under. I mean, most of my friends I had on Miiverse were, older users around my age because, I was older. But, there were, that site was still flooded with literal children. And I just didn't feel comfortable being on a platform that mostly comprised of children by that point, because I wasn't a little child anymore. I was 11 when I started using it. But I was 14. Yeah, I was 14. Just graduated middle school, was moving on to high school. I was like, I don't need this in my life anymore. And plus, the final thing that kept me somewhat interested in staying on that platform, you know, the talking to my friends aspect of it, that was going away. So, what reason do I even have to stay on here anymore? And so I left. Never came back up until Beaver shut down like 2 years later. I don't blame Nintendo for not wanting to try that again. You know, I mean, they already had controversy with Swap Note and that getting shut down after unfortunately a young girl got molested by a. Well, I recently found out it was, I think, three grown men in a hotel room she was lured to, and they contacted her via Swap Note. And, that was horrific, and you know, I'm sure Miiverse was, as restrictive as it was to try to, prevent something like that happening. But even still, again, Miiverse did have quite a few child predators on it, and I would even witness. I was never a victim of any child predator. I mean, I did talk to one person who ended up getting arrested for having copious amounts of child pornography. That I'm sure you know who I'm alluding to. But I was never groomed or anything on the platform. Anytime someone got weird or made me feel uncomfortable, I would cut ties with them. So I was pretty cautious, or at least I thought I was cautious enough. Again, some people who seemed normal slipped through the cracks. But you know, it still was. I still did see like quite a few like weird chat rooms and shit, or weird role playing threads that were, I mean, like I said, pretty weird and not super graphic because it was Miiverse after all. But and also like all the Miiverse dating shit, where it was probably like some 12-year-old dating someone who they thought was their age, when in reality the other person was probably like a fucking grown adult, which is disgusting. But I'm sure that happened quite a bit on the platform. So, I don't blame Nintendo at all for not wanting to do Miiverse again or bring it back, or like doing, something similar to Miiverse with the Switch 2. They didn't do it with the Switch 1. I actually have a Reddit account. I completely forgot it existed until recently. Well, I use Reddit on a pretty regular basis. Again, I don't post onto it. I just read other people's posts and sometimes comment, but even that's not often at all. So I'm not the full stereotype. I'm not a redditor, or at least I'm not a Reddit poster. I don't have fucking 1 million karma or whatever. What even is my karma? I don't even know. I never check that shit. My last actual Reddit post was 5 years ago in the David Bowie subreddit, which was on the 5th-year anniversary of his death. I remember making this. 5 years. That's all we got. How do you even check? 1.5k karma. Yeah, not a lot at all. Well, that's something to take pride in, right? I don't spend like all day posting on Reddit. I spend all day posting on Discord instead. Well, no, even that I don't post in all the time. I think I do go some days without posting at all on Discord. Because I'm either busy or I just don't feel like it. The only subreddits I really use are r/goth, r/monster high, and some other random general subreddits. The subreddits I look at mostly are political subreddits, gaming subreddits, and certain TV show subreddits. I'm in a whole bunch of subreddits that I just don't even look at and can't be fucked to leave. That's a lot of subreddits. I do like looking at like NYC subreddits, and I'm in one subreddit for New York State because I like to pay attention to like local shit, see what people who live here are saying. But at least the main NYC subreddit, that place is a fucking shithole. It's always raided by Zionists and MAGA and probably even bots too. Because like every other fucking thread on that fucking subreddit is like salivating over any failure or perceived failure of Zoran, and you know painting him as a anti-Semite, and all this other shit. Every time there's like a success from him, that's them trying to downplay it or saying, no, actually this is gonna backfire hard eventually. I remember that place back during the primary. Oh my god, so many fucking smug people were saying there's no way he'll win. It's gonna be Cuomo. Cuomo's inevitable. Look what ended up happening. I hear that's the case for a lot of major city subreddits. They end up getting, especially like blue cities, they end up getting brigaded by right wingers. Usually like trying to fearmonger about said city. Like, if you heard about NYC just from some right winger who has never stepped foot in NYC, you'd think it's like some crime infested hellhole. Oh my god, like illegal immigrants are running around all over the place committing crimes. When in reality, like, that's not the case at all. I mean, crime does happen, as it does in every fucking city, but it's NYC, like, some crime rates are actually at record lows. Like, I think murder rates are at a record low. Um, Petty theft, I think, is at a record low. Like, there several crimes are actually on a pretty big downward trajectory. But you don't hear any of that. No, we're some crime infested shithole, apparently. It is pretty annoying, like hearing about NYC from people who have never actually been in NYC, especially the people who think, I've talked about this before, who think like all of NYC is just like tall buildings and it's all like Manhattan. My part of NYC, it's pretty fucking boring actually. It's mostly just houses, quiet neighborhoods. I mean, I'm not complaining. I take where I live over living in like downtown Manhattan or any place like that any day of the week. So that type of environment is just not for me. But you know, there's plenty of places in NYC that are just regular neighborhoods where nothing much is going on. But I do really like living here. Any chance to talk about my enjoyment living here, I'll take. I was born and raised here. It's my home. Maybe it'll be my forever home. Probably. No prospect of moving. Not currently, at least. Maybe I'll make a video someday about just talking about liking living here. I don't make too many positive videos on my channel. Because really, what is there positive to talk about in this fucking world, in this climate? Star Trek has always been progressive and diverse since the original 1960s show. It had one of the first interracial kisses on TV. Yeah, I've heard about that. I remember hearing a lot how it was a very progressive show for its time. I mean, that's cool, but again, like, I have no interest in Star Trek or anything sci fi related. The kind of shows I watch are, shows that take place in the regular world. No one has any powers or like super technology or anything like that. Because again, that kind of stuff just never appealed to me. You know, I just really like, watching shows that star regular people. More relatable, I guess. Monster High started as a web series on YouTube. They released TV specials on Nickelodeon at the time. Oh, that's what I was thinking of. Yeah, I remember seeing like Monster High shit like advertised on Nickelodeon, but I assumed it was a TV show because I never watched it. I had no interest in it, so I didn't really know what it was. Oh, by the way, speaking of NYC, I have a shirt of the skyline. I remember getting this shirt like 10 years ago at a gift shop at Rockefeller Center. That was a fun night. That was the same night I turned 15 in a pizza parlor in Times Square. It was the best pizza I had in my life. So, again, really, really fun night. Ghislaine Maxwell had 15 million karma. Yeah, like I said, I remember hearing she was a super Redditor. Because who the fuck has that much karma? Well, I'm sure there's probably some people out there who live and breathe Reddit who have more karma than that somehow. Yeah, I may look like a Redditor, but I'm not actually. I'm a. You can tease me for using Discord. I use that. Hell, I run a Discord server. I'm a Discord mod, I guess. Or I don't know about mod. I mean, I have modded other people's servers before, really just friend servers, and they just modded me because I was their friend. I didn't actually like pay attention to the server, as I guess shitty as that is to admit. So I guess you could like throw the Discord mod label at me. There were massive anti-Semitism smear campaigns against Jeremy Corbyn and Roger Waters just for being anti-Zionist. Now people are accusing Zach Polanski, leader of the UK Green Party, for being an anti-Semite, even though he's Jewish. Well, I mean, it wouldn't surprise me if there were certain Jewish people out there who were legitimately self-hating. I mean, plenty of minority groups have those, unfortunately, but no, I'm sure he's not a genuine anti-Semite. Just one of the many people who are smeared as being an anti-Semite because they don't swear fealty to Israel. They don't kiss the feet of Israel every 2 seconds like they're expected to. I made a video a few years ago about Roger Waters being smeared as an anti-Semite. I think one of his concerts had on the pig that's at a lot of his concerts. It had words scribbled onto it, and I think one of the words was the K slur, even though it was supposed to be like the part of the supposed to be like a it was part of the wall where the protagonist Pink was slipping into extremist ideology. That's what the much of the back half of the wall, like towards the end, is about. So that's what it was reflective of, but instead that was twisted into Roger Waters as an anti-Semite. Look at this slur he used on the inflatable at his concert. And look at what he said about Israel throughout the years. Oh, he's so disgusting and hateful. No, he just doesn't like an apartheid state that is engaging in clear-cut genocide, that has ramped up the genocide for these past 2.5 years, but obviously, it's been going on for way longer than that, but you know what I mean. It's it's really gross how captured much of the Western world is by Israel, or rather, like Israel is a pet project of the U.S. specifically. So that's why the U.S. swears a lot of fealty to it because, you know, uh, you know, that's what's in its best interest. But it's really something like, you have to swear absolute fealty to this, well, let's be honest here, shithole in the Middle East that's engaging in clear-cut genocide that you have never been to, probably have no connection to, especially if you're not Jewish yourself. And, you constantly hear about this country bombing innocent people, bombing innocent children, and yet you're supposed to, like, unquestionably love it and just accept that most of your politicians in government are completely fucking captured by this country, by Israel, I mean. That's why I said a few months ago in a video, I'm like so fucking sick of Israel. Not that I'm sick of, well, I am sick of the genocide, but not that I'm sick of hearing about the genocide, because it is a legitimate, issue. And now with the war with Iran and all that, you know, it's a very consequential issue that directly impacts this country, uh, especially. But I'm just sick of the constant fucking kissing the ass of Israel. Like, you know, and like any negative thing said about Israel that isn't rooted in genuine anti-Semitism. I get it. There are a lot of really gross people who are taking advantage of this moment to spread genuine anti-Semitism, but by and large, people who are vocally against Israel are people who are rightfully disgusted by the actions of the Israeli government. But no, that's anti-Semitic. You can't talk about that. Yeah, you got to just unquestionably support this country and unquestionably support this stupid fucking war we are now in at the behest of this country. That again, much of our citizens in this country have fuck all to do with. But we're supposed to just accept our gas prices rising and all of these other economic consequences of this stupid fucking war because we have to swear fealty to Israel. It's just so fucking sick of it. Don't get me wrong, I don't agree with Roger Waters on everything. He opposed the ban on fox hunting for whatever reason, and some of his pro Putin stuff is just bizarre, but his support of Palestine has always been one thing I've admired about him. Yeah, I definitely admire that about him as well. He has been vocally anti Israel and pro Palestine way before October 7th, like what, over 10 years before October 7th, so before it was cool to be against Israel. Because I remember before October 7th, well, I mean, he still smeared a lot, but especially back then when a lot of people didn't really care about the Israel-Palestine conflict, or should I say, people who are not, so in tune, and not enough people cared about the conflict back then. You know, all the fucking time, I would read people saying Roger Waters is a disgusting anti-Semite because he doesn't like Israel. And even before I was really well versed in this topic, like when I was a teenager, I'd be like, okay, so what has he said that's anti-Semitic? Has he, like, said anything disparaging about Jewish people, like, as a group, not just condemning the actions of the Israeli government? And then I'd actually look into what Roger Waters was saying, because even back then I was a huge Roger Waters fan. So I wanted to know exactly what he was saying. And a lot of it was just, like I said, condemning the Israeli government, condemning their actions. So I'd be like, what's the issue? I mean, if he was throwing around slurs and, actually being hateful towards Jewish people, I mean, obviously he'd be a genuine anti Semite. But from what I was reading back then, and from what he is still saying now, and what I see him saying and read what he's saying, it's his condemnation is in his hatred is in the right place. It's towards the Israeli government, not again, Jewish people as a group. Like, that's the real anti-Semitism. Having the identity of a Jewish person be completely tied to this apartheid state in the Middle East. That's what really perpetuates anti-Semitism, making their identity be completely intertwined with Israel and have that negative baggage associated with their identity as a Jewish person, when it really shouldn't be so tied to their identity, given that Israel isn't even 100 fucking years old. It's just fucking frustrating. And Zionists, they don't even actually give a fuck about real anti-Semitism. A lot of them are completely fine with a lot of, like, far right shit and groups, because that kind of crowd helps advance their goals. Like, I remember even Netanyahu was caping for Elon Musk after he did the fucking Nazi salute. Oh, I mean Roman salute at Trump's inauguration. Imagine if Elon Musk was a Democrat and did that. Oof. They just weaponize anti-Semitism and use it as a means to smear other people who are critical, rightfully critical of Israel, and again, not Jewish people as a whole. and they use it as a fucking smear against those people. They want actual anti-Semitism to persist, so they can feel like so they can act like victims when they're the ones cheering on or even engaging in clear-cut genocide, and try to it's to try to appear sympathetic, and it's disgusting. There's nothing to sympathize about supporting or even engaging in genocide. There's one message I missed. NYC must be an expensive city to live in. Yeah, that's the most miserable thing about NYC. Fucking expensive it is, especially in recent times. We're like just barely fucking scraping by with this house. I mean, we manage. We still pay the bills and all that, but like, you know, um, barely. Uh, Fucking property tax keeps going up. Thank God, the proposed property tax hike that Zoran um, announced a few months ago isn't going to happen because we have the pure-to-take tax now. So Zoran kind of got what he wanted in raising taxes for the rich, at least when it comes to them owning secondary property in this city. So there's that. So we won't be squeezed even more because he was proposing like what a 9% increase in property taxes. Oof, it would have been miserable for us because we're homeowners in NYC. We don't rent this house. We, again, we're the actual owners. My grandmother and grandfather bought this house back in 1970, and that's kind of a big part of the reason as to why we're still here. I mean, my mother and my uncles, they grew up in this house. I mean, they were born before my grandma and grandfather moved into this house, but still, I mean, my mother was only 3 in 1970. My younger uncle, the uncle that didn't have the stroke, was 2. My stroke uncle was 7, and I think my oldest uncle was 8, I believe. I don't remember exactly, maybe 9. Forget his birth year. But, you know, they spend pretty much their entire lives in this house. And I have lived in this house my entire life. You know, I mean, my uncles, well, I have one uncle that lives in Jersey, so he hasn't lived here in over 20 years. But, my uncle that didn't have the stroke only moved out for a few years. He lived in the Bronx for like 2 or 3 years. I think he moved a little after I was born. And then he came back because, my grandmother was getting older and she was battling cancer at the time. That was her first round rodeo with cancer back in the 2000s. So he came, to help her, and he's lived here since. My uncle that had the stroke wasn't living here for like 10 years, but then he moved back here at around 2008, 2009 ish. He's lived here since. And my mother, I mean, I think she has only ever lived in this house. I mean, she told me there were some times where she'd like live with boyfriends, but it more like be like, living back and forth. She'd, stay at their place for a few days. She'd come back here, back and forth, like I said. But really, her only home is this house. And again, this house has been my home for my entire life. So, you know, to quote Bob Dylan, it's not a house, it's a home. That's what I consider this house. It's more than just a living space. So yeah, I mean, we make it work living in a house, being homeowners in NYC. Barely, but I mean, we still manage. I think we're the last, no, not the last, one of the last original families in this neighborhood. Because not many people have been living in this neighborhood since 1970. That was back when these houses were just built. I actually don't know what the fuck was here before all these houses were built. Maybe other houses, or maybe it was just land. I don't know. I'm Jewish, and most of the anti Semitism I face is being accused of being a self hating Jew for supporting Palestine. Yeah, I've seen a lot of that stupid shit online. You're not a real Jew, quote unquote, for not swearing fealty to this apartheid state. Like, it's just disgusting. You're not. Your identity as a Jewish person is supposedly not valid because you don't step in line with what we believe, which is just killing brown children and killing innocent brown people in general in the Middle East. That needs to be intertwined with your identity as a Jewish person. Fuck that shit. Fuck that shit. Again, that's the real anti-Semitism, making your entire identity be tied with genocide and apartheid. That's what perpetuates anti-Semitism, and that's what gives people negative perceptions when it comes to Jewish people, which is not valid in the slightest because there are plenty of Jewish people like yourself, as I'm sure you know, that don't support Israel and find Israel's actions to be disgusting. But there's plenty of simple-minded people out there who think Jew equals supporting genocide, supporting Israel. That they have all these stupid negative perceptions usually given to them by fuckheads like Nick Fuentes and such. About Jewish people. And a lot of these people probably never really interacted much with Jewish people in general because probably don't even fucking go out much. Which I can commiserate to that with that to a point. I don't go out much, but I do know I still have real life friends. Some. It's really something how easy it is to combat bigotry or like prejudice against certain groups of people, not even just like when it comes to race and such, but like what they are or what their political leanings are, what their beliefs are. Like, for example, when I was in high school, when I was 15, 16, I was really big on the whole anti-feminist bullshit that took the internet by storm back in the mid 2010s, which I mean, is still that's still unfortunately very popular on the internet, but especially back then, the whole fucking slop factory against Anita Sarkeesian and shit, I was really into that, even though I still like identified myself as a liberal because there were certain things conservatives would say that'd be like, don't jive with that, especially when it came to like certain social issues like opposing gay marriage or thinking weed should be illegal, stuff like that. But it's funny, what made me finally start like actually like reading up on feminism and learning what it is, and just being more open-minded in general, was befriending a girl who was a feminist. She's self-described as one, and she was a cool person. Nothing like the fucking like straw man that the internet fucking built back then, where every feminist is like some red haired, not that there's anything wrong with having red hair obviously, but some red haired screeching oversensitive person. That's when I learned a lot of that shit is just it's built on stupid straw mans that relies on you not interacting with enough people to know that a lot of people who self-identify as feminist or any of the other labels that were heavily scrutinized back then are actually not like that, and they're just regular people who care more about certain social issues. you know It's like, the more you learn about certain types of people, the more you learn that they're just normal people, just like you. There's nothing nefarious about them. There's nothing inherently weird or off-putting or, you know, dangerous or anything of the sort about them. It's also funny, like, I read online from, a lot of guys online who, don't talk to a lot of women, the hyper misogynist types who treat women like they're a monolith and they're so different from guys. And, you know, or even just people who aren't like that, but they're, they don't talk to a lot of women, but they're just really apprehensive, not exactly prejudiced, but they still think of women as, well, maybe it is prejudice to some extent, maybe, but they still think of women as like this, just so different from guys and so hard to approach. Like, how do I talk to a woman? How do I befriend one? How do I, do this, do that, or talk to them? And it's like, I mean, I'm friends with some women, not a huge amount, but I am, both online and real life. And the more I talked to, like when I was in high school, the more I talked to girls, the more I realized they're really not that different from guys. I mean, certain things, sure. I mean, obviously on a physical level, there's quite a few differences, but I've been talking about like personality wise and interests and such. You know, when I every girl I befriended back in high school and college, well, not really in college. I didn't befriend anyone in college, really. I mean, I still did, talk to people, but I never like actually kept in contact with any of them. But you get what I mean. Like the more women I talked to, the more I was like, you know, again, not that much different from me, not this fucking like so like unapproachable or like so awkward to speak to because there's so many differences between us. No, like most of the girls I befriended in high school, I just talked to like I did with any guy because they were just friends. That was a long tangent. I don't know how long I was going for with that. Which I mean, I'm fine with that considering I'm finally at the bottom of the chat. That's what I like about myself. I'm able to like go on these really long rambles, from just like these very short chat messages. I start talking about one thing that then I get reminded about something else, and then I go into a tangent about that. Eh. So anyway, to the four people who are here, just for the sake of making conversation, I suppose, and I don't feel like leaving just yet. How are you doing on this fine Friday? I think it's supposed to rain soon. That's not fun. Like I said earlier, to anyone who may have been here earlier, um, my basement, it didn't flood, but we were using the wet vac to collect water that was accumulating in front of the back door that leads to the basement. So water couldn't get in, even though some water still came in. But you know, no, it wasn't very fun. Let me turn on the light. It's starting to get dark. Usually doesn't get dark at this hour in June, but it's cloudy out, and I think it's about to rain. Actually, just got a weather warning. Speaking of that, what does it say? Weather expected to start at your location at 7:02 p.m. Rain soon. And another notification: severe thunderstorm warning until 7:15 p.m. I guess it's gonna start. What did it say? 7:02. Fuck. I was looking at the hourly just before, and it didn't say anything about rain. Oh, now rain, 7 and 8 p.m. God fucking damn it. I was thinking of going to the store after this stream. I hate this time of the year. It rains so fucking much. It's going to rain. It's raining today, and then we get a small break from it tomorrow. It says Saturday, sunny. And then Sunday, rain. Monday, rain. And then we get a break on Tuesday and Wednesday. And then Thursday and Friday, rain. Next weekend, it doesn't say anything about rain. So most of these next 7 days, 7+ days actually, it's going to fucking rain. Which probably means my basement is fucked. Getting heat this time of the year. Not even just for the heat and humidity, but we also get so much goddamn rain. I'm doing okay. Pulled a muscle in my back, so I'm borderline bedbound until it gets better. I've had this pain on my side for a while. I think I strained a muscle or something. Should probably get that checked out. Because it first started getting noticeable when I got sick. I was coughing a lot, coughing pretty hard and violently for like a week. But the cough lasted a lot longer than a week, but it would just kind of like turn into a regular cough. And that's when the pain started. And I don't know if I like strained a muscle too hard while coughing. And it just still has yet to heal. No idea. And it doesn't help that, I was using the wet vac last night, and when that wet vac uh, fills up, which we got a lot of rain last night, so it was filling up pretty quickly. Every time I had to take the bucket out and, carry that heavy bucket to the bathroom and dump it into the shower. Do that. I was doing that over and over again for like an hour. So, strained myself doing that probably too. Or at least I wasn't doing myself any favors doing that. It's very sunny where I live. Well, where do you live? If you're comfortable sharing. I mean, when it's not raining, it's been pretty sunny overall this month. But again, on top of the ugly humidity and heat that we usually get during the summertime here, uh, we also get a lot of goddamn rain. I hate it so much. Have you heard the new Weezer single yet? I only heard Shine Again, whatever it was called. I should probably listen to the other singles that have released. I know a few songs have been released publicly. Um, Originally, I just wanted to like listen to all the other songs when the album comes out, because I was under the impression the album was going to come out this month, and then I checked and it said like what, August 21st, and I was like, oh, fuck, yeah, yeah, I'll probably get to listening to the other singles soon. I didn't know it was coming out that late. I'm used to Weezer albums coming out, around springtime, maybe early summer. But at least that one single, I can't speak for the other ones, but I've heard good things about the other ones. At least that one single sounds promising. Because I'm so used to this band releasing one really good album and then following that up with dog shit. But at least going off by the first single, it does hopefully, Hopefully that means the album is promising. The rest of the album is promising because I liked it. Weezer is kind of a frustrating band in general to follow because they have such an inconsistent discography, yet they have proven that, they're still more than capable of putting out great material. Hell, even some of the best material of their entire discography, like White. But a lot of the times they just choose not to. But they've been on kind of a roll this decade. I don't think they've released one album that's a stinker. I like Van Weezer. I especially like OK Human. That's one of my favorite Weezer albums. It's another one I consider one of their best. I like the Seasons albums, or EPs rather, for the most part. Iowa. Oh, Iowa. I think I know some people who live in. I know I did know someone who lived in Iowa, but I have not spoken to them in years, and rather not speak to them. But from what I remember, they fucking hated it there. So they were like my only link to Iowa. They lived in like deep rural Iowa too, not even like Iowa City or any other major uh, populated area within the state. Is Iowa really as boring as people make it out to be? I always see Iowa like near the top of the list of most boring states, which New York is never on any of those lists. But no, whatever. Sure, you like Iowa. I'm not sure how to feel about the new album yet. Weezer are really inconsistent discography wise, even if they did make two of my favorite albums, those being Gratitude and the Teal album, of course. Oh, yes, the big heavy hitters. Yeah, I mean, that's why I say Weezer is a very frustrating band to be into because, again, they can make some really fucking great albums, even, this late into their career. And then they can follow up a really great album with, again, complete fucking dog shit like Pacific Daydream following up White albums. I don't know how to feel about the cover though. It looks kind of tacky. The new album, the cover for the new album, especially since it's especially weird since it's the first self-titled album without any of the members on the cover. I mean, they made one non-self-titled album with the members on the cover, Make Believe, of course, which don't care for that album. It's weird they didn't call Make Believe the Black Album because that was kind of their first Black album, wasn't it? The members in front of a black background, but whatever. Well, I think the rain is starting. I hear it coming down. I hear it hitting my window. Well, might have to go down to the basement soon, depending on how heavy it rains and how long it lasts. I live in rural Georgia. It's okay, but I don't like how MAGA it is. Yeah, uh, yeah, I'm sure a lot of rural places, the politics can be pretty ugly because that's unfortunately how a lot of those areas are. A lot of backwards people. The more disconnected from society you get, the more people like that you encounter. Almost like there's a connection between those two things. Really makes you wonder. Yeah, I don't know if I could ever live rural life. I mean, I'm introverted. I'm not a big fan of like socializing. I'm not a big fan of other people, but Even still, I do like being in a relatively populated area, even if the part of NYC I live in is not, the big bustling, big tall building, people all over the place, part of NYC, which I'm more than fine with. But there's still people around. There's public transportation that passes by, cars that pass by all the time. It's not like I live in complete solitude, and I don't want to live a completely isolated life either. I don't know. The rural life just sounds kind of miserable to me. I mean, there's people who live that kind of life and are perfectly fine, and I respect that. But I'm just saying, I don't think that would ever be for me. Who knows? This will probably be the last message I respond to. My area gets really quiet at night, aside from wildlife sounds and the occasional car driving by. Well, in NYC, it's never truly quiet. I mean, I live right by a highway too, so there's always sounds of that at night. But, even in the wee hours of the morning and really late hours of the night, there's cars driving by, buses coming by. Not as much as it is as during the day, of course, but still get a lot of that even at night. So it's never completely quiet. So yeah, I don't really know what it's like to be in a complete, again, a completely isolated area that's like completely detached from you know populated areas or society or whatever. I don't know if I'd ever want to live that kind of a life, and I don't know, again, it sounds very isolating. Anyway, no more chat messages appearing, so that's my cue to leave, I guess. I've been doing this for more than 2 hours. My voice is kind of strained, and again, it's raining. It's probably going to rain really hard soon. Probably gonna have to help get water out of the basement or just suck up water from the drain because the pumps we have don't do fucking anything. So, yeah. Anyway, uh, yeah, fun stream. I liked interacting with everyone in the chat. Thank you to everyone who stuck by. Especially thank you to everyone who stuck by this entire stream. I don't know how you could stomach listening to me for 2 hours, but I commend that, and I'm beyond thankful. And thank you to everyone who was here previously who, may not be participating now. I appreciate everyone who participates in these streams, no matter for how long they choose to stay. And yeah, stream sometime in July, I guess. When I don't fucking know, but it'll be some random Friday in July. That's pretty much a given. Anyway, goodbye.